Welcome back for another video. This one we're gonna start making our missiles split off randomly. So what I'm thinking, I don't think this was actually in the Atari version, just the arcade and some of the later ones, or at least not the Atari 2600. It might have been on the 5200. But I'm just gonna make it so we'll keep it fairly simple. It'll just split off once. So each missile will have a random chance of splitting off into two. But then that new one can possibly split off again at some point if it hits the random value. In the original game, I think they could split off into like 3 at a time. But we'll keep it simpler, and then we'll make a random chance for that. And I'm thinking also we'll set kind of a lowest point on the screen where it can happen. So once they're past a certain point and too low on the screen, we'll make it that they won't split, just so it doesn't get like really hard for the player last minute there. So let's go back to Unity and let's go into our scripts. The one thing I did think we're going to have to modify how many missiles are being tracked. So it's going to be this enemy missiles left and round in the game controller. So I'm just going to set that to public so we can modify it later. Most of this work is going to be done in enemy missile. So if we go in here, what I'm thinking we'll do is we're just going to make a timer that gets a random value, and we'll set the highest point of that random value very high. That way it's unlikely most missiles will hit that value in the game scene. And if they do hit whatever that random value is, then they're going to split off. So it's basically more of a timer than a random value. Once they hit the end of the timer, then they split. So in here, let's do a random value. We'll do, I guess we'll use a float. So we'll do a private float. Let's do random timer. Okay, and then in start we'll make this. So let's do random timer equals random.range. We'll go, we don't really want 0, but I guess we could do even a part second. So you know what, we'll do it between 0.1f and we'll have to play test this one a bunch, but let's try, say, you know what, let's just run our game for a sec. And just do a quick kind of rough count in our head of how long it takes the missiles. It is going to vary based on the speed, so we'll have to work in some kind of algorithm. Ballpark, I would say it was probably around like 13, 14 seconds. So you know what, even just to test, I'm going to set this to 100. That way there's a fairly low chance it should hit, and then we'll test it out. And what I'm thinking we might actually do, I'm just kind of planning this on the fly, and I just kind of thought of the general ideas. But you know what, we could make a method here. Okay, so to test this out, let's make a method. It can just be private void. We'll do split missile. Okay, and what we'll do here is we're basically just going to instantiate a new one. So let's go to our enemy missile spawner. We can take this instantiate command. Let's add this in here. We are going to need that missile prefab. So let's do that. We'll copy that line as well. Okay, and while we're here, let's go add that in. So if we go to prefabs, oh, you know what? probably can't until, just because there's an error, so we'll just get rid of that for now. So if we're on enemy missile, we're actually just going to drag the same one into it. So for the missile prefab, we'll just drag another enemy missile, and that should fix that. Okay, so let's instantiate this. Okay, so we have the missile prefab. We actually don't need a random X or any of this. We're going to spawn it at transform.position and quaternion.identity. So you know what? Let's just go with this, and then we also got to do, so my game controller dot enemy missiles left in round plus plus, that adds 1 in. What I'm thinking we can actually do here is, if we use invoke, which will call that method, so we can call split missile using invoke. All that this does is actually call a method, but we can add in, if I remember right, I think we can just add a time and it won't call this method until that time is hit. The capital I think. It's been a while since I've actually used invoke. I think we might have to do that. Okay, so yeah, there it is. So we put a method name in as a string like this, and then a float time, which should be how long it'll take before it spawns. So you know what? Just to make this happen more often, we'll set this to 10 for right now, and let's try this. We should see them splitting a lot. Okay, so we saw one there, I believe. Yeah, one there. Okay, so that's working. Let's try it as 100 and let's see. I don't think I noticed any there, but it's kind of hard to see with these particle effects, but okay, so that seems too low. So let's try 50. And then we might have to work in a multiplier, so when the missiles are going faster there, we'll do something with the round counter. Okay, so I saw some split there. That looked a bit better. Okay, so that one split off. Okay, that one just did there, so we have some variation, and when they split, they're going to run their init command. But at the bottom there, we saw the thing I wanted to avoid. So when it's very low, if it spawns one and it picks a random city across, it's going to look weird going across like that. So we got the random spawn. You know what? I think 50 is probably okay. So let's do, was it missile spawner, I think? Yeah, so we did this Y value in missile spawner to get the Y value to spawn them at the top. So you know what? Let's copy this. Go back to our enemy missile. And you know what? In here, we'll add that. I'm going to do float there. And then we'll do, say, if Y value just thinking how the easiest we're going to be able to do this here. So we could do something like, say, if transform.position.y is greater or equal to, so the transform position is going to be in world units, and the screen, you know, let's say, so a 1 here is 100%, that's at the top. So if we look at our game, go to our scene, whoops, game, say, you know, I would say if it's above 25% should be reasonable. So we'll do 0.25, and then we can do, if it's greater than y value, and then put this stuff in here. So if it's not above there, then it's not going to do it. So this basically should take the transform.y of the missile, and then it's converting 25% up of the screen from the viewport into a world position, which is this y value. So this should work fine. So you know what, let's go back to our random range. Let's set this really low. I'll set it to, let's say 15. And we try our game again. Oh, what's this? Oh, I forgot the F. So if we try it now, it's going to have a really high chance to split, but we shouldn't see any split, say probably below like here. Okay, so we're starting to see some. Okay, so we saw up there, that's still a reasonable spot. I haven't noticed anything lower. Let's just try a couple others quick. Oh, we didn't add main menu to the build order. We'll put that first, actually. But I think this should be good, and then we'll set the random range back up to 50. Okay, so we got one split there. Okay, that one split. That's perfect there. And not seeing anything lower, so I am good with that. Okay, so let's save that, and that's it for that video.